Go Blue, everybody. We have a resolution to BURGERGATE. The hammer falls next on Michigan Wolverines Live. And thanks for coming to another episode of Michigan Wolverines Live. My name is John D'Adamo, and you can find me on Twix at John D'Adamo. We are broadcasting live from Twix as well as YouTube right now. On YouTube at Michigan Football, the voice of college football, and on Mark Rogers' Twix account. So definitely hit us up and give your thoughts on either platform of what you think about the content. Before we get to everything else, I do just want to thank everybody who said nice words, donated, did anything related to my dog Gizmo, and I'm going to be putting the link for as long as I can in the description section for people to donate to that organization. So thank you guys. You were awesome last week, and at a time when I feel like I'm getting punched in the face the last couple of weeks, it really does mean a lot. So thank you for that. I do want to make a couple of always reminders that we always do. Please hit that like button. It just takes a second. If you appreciate the content that we put out there, the like button, just do it. It's free. It takes a second, and then it's done. We're also in a battle, as you know, with Ohio State voice of college football. So hit that subscribe button. And then finally, take this YouTube link, share it with at least one person, or put it in a Facebook group, put it in a Discord chat, put it somewhere, right, where people can see it. And that way, the more that you put it out there, the more that our content's going to get out there and be appreciated. So thank you all so much. And then if you do have a comment or question, we have a lot to cover, as you know, so we're not going to get to every regular comment today. We're going to try to get to some if they're really relevant or whatever, but if you want your statement, comment, question to the top so that it's read, and I either read it immediately or I read it when it makes sense in the outline as close as I can. So we do read them same show. Just try to pick when it's more relevant to read it. But go ahead and send that and send that, and we'll answer it on air. So first up, we have both of our regular panelists here. We're going to begin with our buddy TJ Ronan Sports Talk, who's been with us last few months. TJ, go Blue! Welcome back, sir.
Go Blue! It's always good to be back talking Michigan football, and the spring game is just 4 days away. Let's get it.
Spring game, and it wouldn't be a Michigan Wolverines live show if we didn't get some type of breaking news or story that we have to deal with. So here we go. And we've also got to bring in so he does our Smash the Numbers series on Michigan football, the voice of college football. It is Ferris Khan who's back with us. Ferris, thanks for coming back.
I'm so glad to be here. I love breaking news. It makes things really interesting. Please let others know that we're going to talk about a lot of things in detail today.
Absolutely. We will get to the news in 2 seconds, but we do want to honor. We already have a super chat. Nick is coming through with another $1.99. The toy hammer sure came down. OSU clowns. Got to read it. He paid money. So there you go. And so with that said, thank you for that. We do have breaking news. So the NCAA and the University of Michigan have come to a settlement on specifically, I want to be very clear on this, specifically the BURGERGATE related recruiting violations, nothing to do with Connor Stallion's sign stuff. Nothing. These are two separate investigations, two separate courses from beginning to end. So this is part one, and then we're going to deal with the fun and excitement for part two later. But we're dealing with part one right now, where they have come to a settlement on BURGERGATE. The three things, and then we'll get to everybody's reactions, but the three pieces we know so far. And there's still some specifics to be ironed out, but we know that there's going to be a 3-year probation of Michigan's program. Which we, based on what I've seen so far, probably means they're going to be scrutinizing things very carefully in terms of monitoring. They can't do anything about the playoffs because they're two separate entities. A fine of some type. We've been saying there's going to be a fine forever. That was expected, and some recruiting restrictions. Could that mean scholarships? Could that mean restricting visits? Probably some variety of those things. But we'll start with TJ. I mean, when you heard this, what was kind of your initial reaction to this news on the settlement here?
Yeah, I mean, so my initial reaction was like, all right, out of nowhere, like normal, right? Like, wasn't expecting this right before the spring game. So in my opinion, it was a calculated drop, like everything else they do, right? This gives them something to talk about because they know we're going to be in the national stage on Saturday. And another reason why the NCAA is a piece of shit, not to speak too rudely, but we all know it. First off, the fine, we knew that was coming. Like, we knew we were going to get a fine, whatever. Money means
Correct.
nothing. I mean, with all the money we're getting in the athletic department, who gives a shit, Now the recruiting violations, or not the violations, but the recruiting was it suspensions that they're giving us? Like, what are they? Are they scholarships? We don't have the details, so it's hard to truly get a real response. Like, I don't even know. And let's just say it is scholarships. Let's say it's 5 scholarships per season for the next 3 years, right? With NLI or NIL, scholarships don't matter. Like, there were players last year. There's 105 scholarship players on the roster as we speak. The number used to be 85. So, that doesn't mean anything. And then 3 years of probation, to me, that's where it's like, all right, to what extent? It's very annoying. Like, I know I'm not the only one. You got schools like Miami. You got schools like Ohio State. You got all these schools doing way worse, right? And then here we are getting a punishment for freaking cheeseburgers, dude. Literally buying cheeseburgers and watching a workout on Zoom of a kid who's going through an illness because he wanted to show Harbaugh he can do push-ups with his brother. Like, that's right. It's just, I don't know. So my initial reaction is F those guys, and it is what it is. We'll keep it moving.
Yeah, and I think your sentiment will be echoed by many Michigan fans around the country and around the world. But we'll get to some of the comments in a bit. But Ferris, and by the way, thank you. Mark is in chat right now. Mark Rogers, voice of college football, giving his support to our show. Thank you for that. And he's saying, not us, but the big boss is saying, hit the like button. Okay, so this isn't even coming. If you don't listen to me, listen to this guy, the literal voice of college football. Okay. So, all right. So Ferris, what was your kind of initial takeaway from this news?
Yeah. So, in an Allen Iverson voice, for those of you of age who can remember this, we're talking about cheeseburgers, right? So, recruits today, they get $65,000 cars for attending specific schools. They get flat out hundreds of thousands of dollars. And this is about cheeseburgers, really a little bit more specifically. It's not even about the cheeseburgers. It used to be, is it money in a cheeseburger bag, like a McDonald's bag or something? No, it's not that. Is it the burgers themselves? It's not even really that. It's that Harbaugh conveniently forgot or does not recall buying the cheeseburgers. To a great extent, it's the not admitting that he bought the cheeseburgers, right? So, and everything gets reduced if he just admits that, and he's still refusing. My understanding is that he's got his lawyer, they're doing all kinds of stuff, and he's still fighting this. And that actually gives credence to the idea that last fall, he really did want to fight everything. He wanted to fight, before the Penn State game for other violations. He wanted to fight that, and he was overruled by Michigan administration. So one kind of side note to this is that this does kind of put Jim Harbaugh and U of M kind of at odds a little bit, because U of M is kind of accepting, admitting, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. And they didn't know. Harbaugh didn't know.
Yeah. So just an interesting dynamic there. I heard I heard elsewhere, what if Harbaugh comes back? Maybe not to Michigan. Maybe, Sharon Moore is with us. He'll be with us for 20 years, hopefully. Harbaugh goes to UCLA or something. So, 8 years from now, is somebody going to impose something on Harbaugh when he's the UCLA coach or whatever?
Well,
probably.
Didn't they put 5 show clauses on? They put show clauses on 5 coaches, didn't they?
Yeah. So 1 year show cause on 5 coaches. However, Harbaugh's portion is going to be considered separately by the Committee on Infractions. So the Committee on Infractions is going to decide a coach that's no longer coaching in college, what his fate's going to be, his pretend fate, because let's be honest, he's not coming back to coach college. So I think the Chargers job is probably it. Maybe one more in the NFL, but I don't think he's coming back to college, except for as a special assistant to the head coach if he needs to someday. I could see that, but no. So that's going to be separate. Could be a 3-year, could be whatever. It could be whatever they imagine it to be if it makes them sleep at night. But it doesn't matter because he's at the Chargers. The NFL Goodell has enforced some stuff or said he would, from what the NCAA comes. So there could be an interim head coach for a minute at the Chargers, but I don't think it's going to be anywhere near 3 years or 2 years or whatever it is. There's no way the money up there, 8 games most, I don't think any more than that.
No.
Yeah, Ralph's comment's really funny here.
Yeah, it's amazing. So really, I understand, and the Ohio State people and other people in chat are like, it's not just a cheeseburger. Yes, you're right. There was Zoom watching, of Zoom practices. This was a common practice, however, that many schools were doing in college and many teams were doing in the NFL. If you watch some of the behind-the-scenes documentaries from 2020, they were watching Zoom workouts. They were watching Zoom practices, the coaches. There was also a portion of this that some of the analysts were doing more on-field coaching than they were supposed to. So that was part of this. But again, all of these really, I think the biggest thing was Harbaugh, either not remembering or whatever you want to say to the NCAA. And so that's, I think, why his part is going to be considered separately, because his is the level 1 violation of essentially trying to mislead, or what they're saying is trying to mislead the NCAA. But he gone. So anyway, here's the other part with Harbaugh. This isn't it. There's more. If you thought that was it, no. This part's even better. So CBS Sports has reported that the NCAA threatened Jim Harbaugh with suspension because of his lawyer Tom Mars's mean comments about the NCAA on social media. This is not a joke. This is on CBS Sports being reported by real journalists. That this Dennis Dodd, who we've actually talked about a couple times because he's done really solid work recently. So it was a letter of admonition by the NCAA Committee on Infractions Chair Dave Roberts. So that includes immediate suspension was one of the penalties. And there will not be any further admonitions. Bump, bump, bump. However, nothing happened. Tom Mars kept tweeting about this, and nothing happened. So there you go. Yeah. So TJ, it feels like the NCAA they just had enough of Jim Harbaugh, to be honest. Him, his lawyers, the whole general sphere. It just all of this it wasn't just a cheeseburger. When they said that publicly, right, that's when you know you lost the PR battle. When you have to say publicly, it wasn't just about a cheeseburger, you're basically saying it was about a cheeseburger. Because when you say that, it's like in Game of Thrones when Joffrey was like, I am the king. Okay, but he doesn't really hold the real power in Westeros. It's the same thing here. So TJ, I mean, what's the deal?
Well, I mean, the NCAA realizes it's losing power by the day because it already has no power. You have attorney generals and you have universities challenging the NCAA left and right. And a lot of people already know this. Like, I'm not saying anything that's new. They want to make an example out of Jim Harbaugh because Michigan is, and you guys touched on it earlier, willing to, speaking of Game of Thrones, bend the knee. Michigan's willing to bend the knee to the NCAA to an extent. I would say Michigan has put up more fight in this past year than they would have in the past. I think Santano's, a big reason for that. But the NCAA had to save face, go against their own rules, discuss a ongoing investigation, which they're not allowed to do last summer. And, they just look weak. And I'm sure, and Tom Mars, this is why they hate Tom Mars. Tom Mars is a firm believer that the NCAA will not be around in about 2 to 3 years because they cannot afford to essentially pay players. Like they're going to be non-existent. They think Tom Mars is a big believer that college football is going to be going its own path. And we might see that with a super league of some sort. But, this is why the NCAA has a target on Jim Harbaugh and Tom Moore's back, because Jim Harbaugh and Tom Mars does not respect the NCAA. And then you're seeing the NCAA show its true colors, and we all know what that is. And it's a weak-ass institution. So it is what it is. No one respects the NCAA.
Yeah, Ferris?
Well,
do you respect the NCAA?
One thing.
Do I respect the NCAA? Okay, I you can't when it's all about cheeseburger. But okay. Yeah. Let me answer.
Yeah.
I'm going to deflect a little bit. I'm going to answer Mark's question. My understanding is that but it was a really good cheeseburger. So this is not true. This is not a McDonald's cheeseburger. I think it was
a brown jug.
It was a brown jug.
Yeah,
cheeseburger.
Those are good.
So they're good. I mean, it's not quite Zingerman's level, but it's there. I mean, not in terms of
Knights,
quality.
Knights is really legit.
Nice,
but yeah,
a legitimate hamburger. So
I'd say it's like third place.
Fair. So that's all.
Yeah. The brown jug is a great place if you ever go. I highly recommend it. But also, listen to put this whole thing in a bow here. This will not be the end. We're going to hear more. But at the end of the day, if you look behind me, that's what matters, right? Jim Harbaugh, JJ McCarthy, everybody's buying their merch. And in 2023, Michigan won the consensus national championship. And at the end of the day, there you go. At the end of the day, that's what happened. So, and that's not going to be taken away. So there you have it. And so everybody in chat who's having a parade right now, remember, there is a trophy in Ann Arbor, a real big one. And that's all I'm saying about it. Okay. Just a quick reminder as well that when you're doing your shopping on Amazon, as many of us do from time to time, just go ahead and click the link on literally any Voice of College Football Network video, any, and you'll see the Amazon link really high. Okay. So if you're already doing your shopping, I just got a Nintendo Switch recently. Okay. And I got a whole bunch of accessories for it. And, some stuff I got at GameStop, some stuff I got at Amazon. The stuff I got on Amazon, I use Mark Rogers' Amazon link to get that stuff. Okay. So Mark Rogers got a couple of bucks from that probably. So that helps support the network. That helps us continue to put together good content. We have all these shows every single day. And we now have a morning show, Wake Up College Football. I don't have a banner yet, but I will make one, Mark. Wake Up College Football every morning. I believe it's 8 a.m. Eastern. So first thing, you get your pot of coffee. You get your Pop-Tarts, and then you put Mark Rogers on the TV. And you can have a much better sports morning show than some of the other stuff that you see from time to time. And finally, check out Patreon or become a YouTube member for as low as $2.99. Okay. Ferris, we're going to start with you on this one. So we call this segment Know Thy Enemy. There was a spring game from the Ohio State University last Saturday on Fox with Joel Klatt on the field with Jenny Taft, which was very interesting. Coach Urban Meyer was doing color commentating. So it was a very interesting mix of people in the broadcast. But a lot that we saw and a lot of storylines, even though they were hiding. Of course, you always hold stuff back in a spring game. You're not going to show, a lot of complex, deep passing routes or anything like that. You're going to show vanilla and just get people the game reps. Get people some live fire. To start gearing them up for the season. However, a couple of things that Ferris and I saw that might speak to some of the culture situations going on with Ryan Day at Ohio State. So Ferris, the politics that Ryan Day has to navigate now, he kind of is in this crossroads, right? Because on the one side you have NIL, transfer portal, $1 million to play at your school, the me mentality. And then on the other side, you got to instill that culture of toughness. If you're trying to beat Michigan, Michigan has that team first mentality. They don't pay high school players, and we've criticized them for that, honestly, at times, if they're really good. But that's the other side. So Ryan Day has these diametrically opposed situations. So how do you think he's navigating that? And we could start, if you'd like, with quarterbacks on that, and just give me your take.
Yeah. So when back a couple of weeks ago when I said, hey, you know what, Michigan, it's possible, could do a 2 quarterback system. I was criticized for saying, if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. Well, I just have my notes here because there's so many quarterbacks that Ohio State has. And are any of them better than Kyle McCord with an extra year of experience? Let me just kind of point that out too. You could say that Kyle McCord was mid or whatever last year, but you would think he would be better this year, right? So there's Will Howard, there's Devin Brown, there's Lincoln Kleinholtz. And then the thing that's interesting to me are the 2 freshmen. They have 2 5-star freshmen, one right-handed, one left-handed. I believe if you have a left-handed player who's not quite a starter, is in the mix, that's actually difficult for the offensive line. Some of the assignments have to kind of flip-flop, protecting the weak side, et cetera. So you've got Air Nolan and you got Julian Sayin. So in Ohio, so for those of you who don't know, Ohio State, they take off the black stripe from their helmet, and they make it red. It's red underneath. If a player truly has become an Ohio State Buckeye, well, Air Nolan, who committed first, who's still has the black stripe. It was almost like an albatross. He's playing around there. He still has the black stripe. And then you've got Julian Sayin, who is the chosen one, it seems. So out of the 2 5-star quarterbacks, one has the black stripe, one does not. In this era of NIL, of portal, it seems like that's not a great political move. It seems like potentially Air Nolan might be saying, wait, what's going on here? Should I consider the transfer portal? Now, I know Air Nolan has loved the Buckeyes. That's what I understand. But there was another quarterback that was like that as well. His name was J.J. McCarthy. So I'm just throwing that out there. Just some thoughts with respect to that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So one thing I noticed, and I have been on the Air Nolan train for a while. The Buckeyes that know me know that I have criticized Ryan Day, because Air Nolan, for all this time during the recruiting process, during the beginning part, until they knew they could get Sayin, right? Air Nolan was supposed to be the guy. He was pumped up to be the guy. Everybody was talking about him as the guy. And then all of a sudden, Julian Sayin's available, and let's just throw this kid to the side. I understand there were some behind the scenes issues. Rod Farva, feel free to comment about. I know you were talking about that. But the bottom line is Air Nolan had 2 drives and 2 touchdowns. The third was a mix of him and another guy I didn't even know his name that was playing at the end, and he threw in a desperation, like, just chuck it, it's a spring game, and he got a pick. But I don't really count that because let's be honest, it was the last thing. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns for Aaron Nolan. Like, I don't know how you could do anything else. The kid is talented. And I think he should, like, I actually believe out of all the quarterbacks, and I know this is going to be controversial, out of all the quarterbacks that Ohio State has right now, Howard, Devin Brown, Julian Sayin, Klein Holtz, I believe Aaron Nolan should be the starting quarterback.
I don't know.
I do. And at this point, I think it's too late. At this point, it's probably too late. But he was able to showcase his talent so that another school can take him as the starter, and then watch this space. Whatever school takes him, he's going to ball out. So anyway, TJ, thoughts on that? And I know you didn't go as in-depth in the spring game, but just in general, the quarterback battle that you've been eyeing up.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I think Kyle McCord is better than all of their quarterbacks. And if Michigan had Kyle McCord, we'd be a dangerous-ass team. I'll tell you that right now. I wish he didn't go to Syracuse. I think that's where he went.
Yeah, Syracuse.
So, I mean, if we had Kyle McCord, we could make a run with Kyle McCord. So that just goes to show you the difference between Michigan and Ohio State. I don't think Aaron Nolan is I don't think Aaron Nolan's the answer for them right now because he's a freshman. You know, I have a big thing against freshman quarterbacks starting. I do think Will Howard's probably going to win the battle whenever they announce it at some point. You know, they have a quarterback problem at Ohio, and just like we do, we don't have a quarterback. They don't have a quarterback. I would say maybe their stable of quarterbacks is maybe a little more, I guess, talented than ours. Maybe ours is more unknown, but I mean, I don't fear Ohio State's quarterback situation. In my opinion, it's a downgrade from last year. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes this fall because they're stuck. They're not getting another quarterback in the portal. So, you know, we'll see. And, you know, they chose their bed to lie in it. And I bet you Kyle McCord's going to look a lot better this season at Syracuse.
Yeah, I'd agree with Will Howard. But there's adjustment period. I think he's coming in from K-State, different system, all that kind of stuff. But I also agree that I believe Kyle McCord needs a system around him. Yes, that's true. But I think he would have taken it to the next level at OSU this year. And that Notre Dame game was a good example. And you know, at another point, he did win the Notre Dame game, and there were when Michigan played Alabama, when Michigan played Washington, Michigan made those quarterbacks look just like Kyle McCord. So maybe it was the Michigan defense and not the quarterback. So just some thoughts there as well.
Yeah, they need a scapegoat though. You know, Ryan Day needs an excuse.
Here we go. People are calling me out. Here we go. This is the huddle tape of Aaron Nolan. 15-0 state champions. Watch this space. I'm telling you, 4,090. I know it's high school. 4,095 passing yards, 55 touchdowns. Watch this space, man. This is the guy right here. And look at the cannon. Look at the cannon. Boom. So all I'm saying is, if you need a place to go, Aaron Nolan, if you need a place to go, I bet even though we have a lot of quarterbacks right now, there could be a place for you at the Michigan Wolverines. If you're feeling a little underappreciated, there could be a place for you. All right, I think I've done that one to death.
Just one other quick point on a non-quarterback, Jeremiah Smith. Did you catch?
Yes. Sorry, we should cover that. Yes, Jeremiah Smith.
The LeBron James 2.0 is Jeremiah Smith. Did you catch that on TV there when they mentioned that? So
yeah. I've heard LeBron James, the second coming of Christ. I've heard the best football player in the history of time. And then look, you're going to see practice footage where he looks really good. In the spring game, he went up against the defense, and he's a freshman. He will get better, but that is a little concerning that when the defense really turned it on, because they really did turn it on in the spring game. I gotta say, he had them out and just going after the offense because he wanted to win. I mean, it was offense versus defense. I didn't see it yet, but again, spring games, as Mark pointed out earlier, Justin Fields went like 4 for 15 or something like that in the spring game, and then look at the season he had. So I mean, there's only so much we can read from Jeremiah Smith and his performance so far.
Yeah, it was. Part of this is it's a TV commercial for OSU, just like it's going to be a TV commercial for Michigan. And part of this is, that's you got to hype up players. You've got to have, something to anticipate, that sort of thing, right? So,
let me add this too. I mean, so Ohio State's losing Marvin Harrison Jr., right? So let's say Jeremiah Smith is even 3/4 of that, or even 50%. Right. And that's not, listen, we have Will Johnson. So my concern of Jeremiah Smith or any Ohio State wide receiver this season is not really much, because our defense confuses their offense. And like we said, I personally believe there's a downgrade at quarterback at Ohio State. So even if Jeremiah Smith is a great wide receiver, it's nothing Michigan hasn't seen. Garrett Wilson and name all the others. We haven't seen the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years anyways. And the last 3 years, we've gone against our share of top-notch number one wide receivers. So whatever, maybe he's great, maybe he's not. We'll find out. And, nothing new with Ohio State.
Yeah. And I will say, the reason I'm not talking too much about the defense is because we know what they are. They're excellent. Kudos to Jim Knowles. He has earned every bit of his $2 million a year contract. I know they're paying him 2, and then they're paying Chip like 2 and 2.2 or something. They're both getting $2 million plus. But I believe that the defense was the reason they were in so many games, and the reason why they did as well as they did, because Kyle McCord, let's be honest, despite having the best wide receiver in college football, he definitely underperformed, especially against Michigan, threw some picks, and so yeah, I don't know.
But the problem with Ohio State's defense is the trenches, right? I mean, I know they have the prospects and the high level talent, but they get bullied, man. Their defensive line gets pushed, especially you see it against Michigan, you see it against Oregon. And we're going to really find out next season, because both teams are playing tougher schedules. But the weakness, to my opinion, of Ohio State's defense is its trenches when it plays teams with superior offensive lines. So we'll see. I mean, I know they're loaded up this year. They're going to be a talented team. We'll see what they got.
Man, the Buckeyes are flying in here today. I love it. Buckeyes, welcome. Okay, USA Network had characters welcome. We say Buckeyes welcome because the more Buckeyes in here hate chatting, the more viewership we get. So tell your friends, come on in here and say what you want, and we'll debate it if we think it's merited. But we love this. So Mark is saying, Michigan won't win the Big BIG or the Natty without better quarterback play and better O-line play. Yes, the defense. I believe the defense is extremely good. You mentioned the D-line. I get it. But overall, I think the defense kept them in games. But yeah, they need to find a quarterback. And I don't think it's the guy who's going to get benched at Kansas State. Devin Brown has looked, I would call him workmanlike in terms of, he actually reminds me a bit of Cade McNamara's ability, but with legs, So if it were me, I would say Aaron Nolan, but Devin, if they're going to go game one with, let's go with experience. I understand why you would look at Howard for game one, but to me, it just doesn't make sense where they're at. So they're going to need to find somebody, and it's up to Ryan Day and Chip Kelly to put that together. And that leads to our final point on the Ohio State spring game. What differences did we see aside from the homage, which it was an homage to Woody Hayes in the first play? They did a T formation was really cool. That play would have gone for maybe 1 yard in a real game. But that's fine. I love when teams run the T formation, like at the goal line. I think it's fun. But other than that, Ferris, since you were looking at kind of the specifics there, was there anything that you saw that looked a little different from how Ryan Day? I know that they both spent a lot of time together at the Eagles, and Ryan Day was Chip Kelly's quarterback all the way back. But like, did you see some nuances and some differences there?
Yeah, I mean, first the quote from Chip Kelly, and I'm going to read this verbatim. They asked him on Fox national TV, "Why are you here?" It was kind of a funny question, right? And his answer was, "The best part of football is football. I just want to coach football." So, what he's saying there, I mean, the way I read it, and I respect this, sometimes you're in a job and you've got administrative stuff and you've got marketing stuff and you've got things that I just want to go into work. I just want to do my job. And, I can respect that answer, so as someone who has had all kinds of different jobs in my career, I can totally respect that answer. He wants to be a football coach. He doesn't want to get into NIL. He doesn't want to go recruit. He doesn't want to do all those things. He just wants to play football or coach football. I believe that Chip Kelly wants to run more. If you looked at when we kind of analyzed Ohio State versus Michigan, Ohio State was pretty close to 50-50. I think it was 51% run, 49% pass last year. Mm-hmm. Michigan was over 60%. Alabama was even higher than Michigan. Alabama, coming out of the high-flying SEC, ran more than Michigan, as a percentage of plays. So I believe Chip Kelly wants to get that 51% number closer to Michigan, maybe closer to that 60% number. But I don't think Ryan Day can help himself. So that's going to be a really interesting dynamic, because you could hear it on the broadcast. Chip Kelly probably called the right play, got a touchdown, and Ryan Day was like, "Yeah, you should have thrown it. Why didn't you throw it?" Maybe he wanted the style points. He wanted to, and he was saying that during the broadcast while he was mic'd up. So, just an interesting dynamic. Is Chip Kelly going to have veto power over Ryan Day when it comes to passing, running versus passing, especially against Michigan?
TJ, what do you think that dynamic's going to be? It's kind of hard when the mentor is being managed by the mentee, like when the roles get reversed. That can be a tough dynamic.
Yeah, there could be a power struggle because Chip's used to running his own show, and we'll see if anything happens. I mean, honestly, I don't think there'll be any turbulence unless they start losing. If they lose a game, they drop a game, or a critical down happens that costs them a game, then you might start seeing some turbulence or some threads start to unravel. But I think it'll be all right. I think by the time the season comes around, they'll probably get on the same page for the most part. But if they take a hard loss, especially early in the year, you could see, maybe some headbutting going on. There's definitely going to be a power struggle at some point if things don't go the way that they're envisioning in terms of winning. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting situation to watch.
For sure. Okay, but we do have some Michigan news. We've been covering the Scarlet and Gray, I think, enough for today's show, so that the Buckeyes can be happy that we talked about them for a bit. Now we're going to get back to Michigan, but before we do that, don't forget that we do have a merch store. So our buddy Joey Foster has put together a pretty awesome collection of merchandise and stuff for the college football fans in your life. And we do have a few Michigan items, including a pint glass, a hoodie, a mug. We all love, stuff to put our coffee in. You got a flag, you got a pet bowl, you got a shirt, you got some t-shirts there. And then on the main voice of college football, literally 40 different products right now, sorted by best selling. So it looks like the mug and the keychain and the top 25 that actually make sense are some of the top sellers. as well as some of Mark's sayings now are on there. The notebook, the T-shirt. There's a lot going on here, guys. So check it out if you don't mind. It goes a long way to help the network. If you do want to get something at the merch store, so consider that. Before we move on to the spring game for us, for Michigan, I do want to cover where is it? Dependent Fanatic, I think, said it all on this situation with Denard Robinson. So we did cover when the last one happened with Scruggs, and we're going to cover this one as well. But essentially, he said, I'm trying to find the comment now, but he was basically like, it's called Uber. And yeah, like, I promise you, everybody, I lived in Ann Arbor when Uber first came out, but I've been back to Ann Arbor a couple of times, and I can tell you, there's a lot of Ubers, there's a lot of Lyfts, and I bet that there's also staff or support that could drive coaches. It was an OWI. It wasn't I think a full on, but this is not his first offense, Denard Robinson. So, TJ, what do you think they need to do to just, like, I don't know if it's a training on here's how to use Uber. I mean, Denard is like, he knows how to use technology. Like, what are we doing?
Man, you would think after Greg Scruggs, there'd be a little more sensitization by the coaching staff to be on their best behavior. Like, I was reading on some message boards, like, can we just have 1 month of normal? And I don't know, man. I don't understand why it's so difficult to get a designated driver, get an Uber. I mean, you guys are making bank. You know what I mean? Like, you guys are not pushing a 9 to 5, making $70,000 a year or less. Like, you guys are making 6 figures or more. You guys have a great job with a profile and a status, and you guys just, I don't know. I mean, I personally can't understand it. And when I heard about the Denard Robinson news, man, I was just like, I'm almost numb to it now. Like, how about you guys? You guys, dude, like, but aren't you like numb to it? Like, is anything a shock at this moment? Like, 'cause I'm not even.
We just keep rolling with the freaking punches, man. At this point, it's like every week there's something. Ferris, did you have any thoughts on the Uber program?
I was going to say the same thing you said, but I was going to say Lyft. But okay, that was just my. So he's 1.5 miles south of Schembeckler Hall or something. I'm like, what? Somewhere in Briarwood Mall? Was he getting Taco Bell, or what was he doing there? So I mean, there's nothing to do there. So I at 3 a.m. or whatever he was doing. So I apparently back from something. So that's really disappointing. I think a lot of us, even if you're not a Michigan fan, Denard Robinson because of the NCAA football game, and it's become a collector's item. It's sad. To me, the whole thing is sad. I wish we could fix this. So,
well, TJ, you've been following the recruiting pretty heavily, and from what I understand, Denard was definitely helping on the recruiting trail for some of these visits and helping make the case for Michigan. So if he does get kicked out or removed or whatever, or suspended or whatever, I mean, do you think that's going to play a role? And I hope it doesn't affect recruiting too much, but I did hear he was having an impact.
Yeah, so I mean, he's a good personality on campus. I'll tell you right now, I fully expect him to be released. I don't think they're going to keep him. I know that the toxology report is going to have to be hasn't been released yet, so we don't know what his blood levels were. But as long as it's beyond the legal limit, which I think it will be, I guess I'm assuming. So I guess we'll see when it comes out. So I don't want to do that. If it's beyond the legal limit, I think he'll be released or let go. Any situation like this, they get suspended first, so they can do an internal investigation, and then, regardless of what it is, no matter how bad it is or how minuscule it looks or whatever, they'll get suspended, then they'll do their investigation, and then they'll move accordingly. I do think he'll be released. It does suck for recruiting because we can't get any stability, man. Like, we're in April, and now we're going to go through another turnover situation, like potentially. And he's a Florida connection, and he was making positive headway with some of the Florida guys, Elijah Melendez, and so it is what it is, man. I don't know. I mean, I'm just hoping for some stability. I mean, there's been some positive news on the NIL front, so that's what's kind of keeping me encouraged. But
yeah,
man, I don't know. It is what it is, dude. Like Michigan is literally shooting themselves in the foot all off season. And that's just what it is.
Yep. Thank you, Dependent Fanatic. He don't take it from us. Take it from Mark, and now Dependent Fanatic is saying it. Hit that like button. Hit the subscribe. I even have a helpful graphic here made by or sent to us by our very own Tim Prangley, where you hit the like, you hit the button, and then you hit the bell so that you get notified when we have content. Because we don't just do these weekly shows. Mark Rogers puts out content on the Michigan channel, and Ferris now we have the Smash the Numbers series. So for those of you who are really into data, really into analytics, we now have a regular content series going on with Ferris on that. And we also go live when there's a need for an emergency episode. We'll do an emergency call-in show. So hit that bell to get notified when we're going live, because I know you guys have set your calendar to Tuesday at 8. And by the way, we appreciate that for everybody who's here. Thank you. But there is other stuff we put out there.
Subscribers mentioned earlier for the year, we are ahead of OSU in terms of new subscribers that we've gotten for the year since the beginning of this year. So I just want to kind of point that out. I think we were at like 388. Let's get that number up to my favorite number is 4. My wife's favorite number is 11. Can we get that number 388 subscribers? Can we get that number up to about 411? So our total is much higher than that. So I'm looking to see if we can get about 30 more subscribers, 33 more subscribers or something, in the next little while here. So if you're not a subscriber, please become a subscriber. Thank you.
By the end of April, let's make it a goal.
Yeah, we don't want. Look, we say this a lot. You see this put up in Schembechler Hall. What are you doing to beat Ohio State today? Well, Moose tells us here, check the Birch store out, hit that subscribe button, right? A lot of stuff going on here. That's what you can do to beat Ohio State today in a small way, is to continue, because we are gaining a little bit more than Ohio State year over year. So in terms of this year, we have gained more new subscribers, as Ferris was pointing out. So let's keep it going. All right.
Yeah, that's good. I like LFG's 420 by 420.
Oh, yeah.
We've got 4 days though. Get all your friends to subscribe, please.
Up and
yeah, there
Mark
it is. That's the graphic.
Mark is
388. Let's get that to 420. Let's go.
All right. So with that said, also don't forget we've got some. Mark does a Big Ten show Fridays. I believe it's still Fridays. Mark, we had it at 7 p.m. Eastern. So definitely we have other Big Ten content. There's a weekly Iowa show. There's a weekly Nebraska show. There's a weekly USC show usually, and there's all kinds of stuff that we put out there for you guys. So thank you for checking that out. We also have a Big 12 channel, and we have an SEC channel. Okay, last topic today. We have, in just a few days from now, the Michigan spring game. So a quick note before we get started that Rayshon Benny is still out. So if you're watching for him in the spring game, he is still out with that injury that kept him out of the national championship. But the spring game is this Saturday on Fox at noon. TJ, what are you going to be looking for? In terms of like what should we be watching for? If we're watching this game.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one thing is the quarterback battle. Let's see, what does Orji got? What does Davis Warren have? What do we need? Do we need a portal guy? How's it going to look? How's the offense looking against the defense? Offensive line battle is going to be actually pretty good to look at. So word is right tackle. They may be looking for a portal option for a starting right tackle opposite of Miles Hinton. Apparently, my man, what's his name? Who's the right tackle? The Mormon. You guys know who's going to be the projected right tackle? Off the top of my head right now, I can't remember. I got it right here.
1 second.
It was Andrew Gentry. So Andrew Gentry apparently ups and downs in camp, so there's rumors they might be looking for a right tackle in portal. We'll maybe we'll talk about that after this topic.
Andrew Gentry starter, and then Tristan Bounds backup.
And then I'm looking at Jay Sean Barnum and Ernest Hausman. How do they look? I mean, is the hype for real? I mean, I think it might be. Marlon Klein's a guy I'm gonna be looking for, and then the cornerback battle. Who's gonna take the number 2 spot? My eyes gonna be on that. And then lastly, because I don't want to steal all the heat, but the safety position. Who's gonna replace Rod Moore? What are we looking at? And it should be fun, man. I cannot wait for football. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I think the format's going to be different than Ohio State. From what I recall from last year, there's a draft, correct? We're going to do that again, hopefully.
It already happened.
So the two coordinators are going to do a draft. So one thing that might be a little strange about that is that you may not have continuity with the offensive line. So just kind of keep that in mind. But it should be very interesting. My understanding also is that there isn't going to be it's not going to be that 2-hand touch stuff. They are actually going to tackle, correct? So
yeah, we play real football up here.
So those balls that go over the middle are very hard to judge if it's 2-hand, because you don't have any fear. Right. You're just going over the middle. Okay, whatever. I'll catch it or don't catch it. But so it'll be very interesting to see how that works. The position battles. I mean, we lost so many players. Obviously, there's the running back position, there's the right guard position. There, on offense, on defense. Yes. What are we going to do about the secondary? Does that look okay? What about some of the new additions that we have that are veterans as well? So I think, overall, it's. I'll have my iPhone out. I'll have some footage of what it's like to be 65 yards away from the sideline, trying to capture sideline footage, and in case anybody's wondering how grainy that might be in a hypothetical way, if Michigan in fact was doing, or somebody at Michigan was actually doing something like that. We'll see what happens with that. I do want to point out that. If you are going to the spring game, please let me know. Also, I will be at 11:30 a.m. I will be in where the Eagle is, the Eagle statue, which is the entrance that's just on the corner of Main and Stadium. Go in that. So I'll be right there. One of our colleagues, I'll call him that, Dennis Fithian. Will be there.
Oh, nice.
I'll be meeting up with him, meeting up with a couple other people as well. So we'll.
He's a friend of the program. He's been on our show a couple of times.
Okay, great. Yeah. So if anybody's around, please let me know and meet me there. I'll be there at 11:30, about a half an hour before the game starts.
Wow, Ferris and Dennis Fithian. That's a good combo, I think. So that'll be a good time. Hang out with the
Eagle statue if you don't remember anything else. So that's
Eagle, the Eagle statue. Yeah, and I have been hearing, and our buddy Isaiah Hull talked about it. What's interesting about the O-line is that it looks like they've moved El Hadi from left to right guard. So he's been going out at right guard. I'm happy to see him as well as Crippen. It seems like they're going to start. And so that's good because they've been ready to start, and then they bring in a transfer to compete, and then they lose it. So it's been iron sharpens iron for the last couple of years, but they've been on the losing side of it. But now it seems like they've put in their time, they've got the experience in, and they're finally going from backup to starter positions. So that's great for recruiting, I think, as well.
One other quick note. So we've got Colston Loveland, obviously, but Marlon Klein, look for him as well. They'll probably be on opposite teams. So that'll be interesting to kind of see as well.
Yeah. Donovan Edwards, Moose has mentioned. So Donovan Edwards has bulked up, I believe, because he needs to now. He knows that he's going to be needing to take some of those Blake Corum reps, and so he wanted to kind of prepare his body for that. Because when you lose Blake Corum, Khalil Mullings is going to probably take some of that load, but Donovan Edwards is going to need to be utilized at least some of the time, so the defense doesn't know. Like if Donovan Edwards is always used as the finesse guy or the perimeter guy or the slot receiver, and then Khalil Mullings comes in and they've got 7 linemen, well then everybody and their mother knows what's about to be happening, right? My grandma who's dead will know what's happening with that play. So Donovan Edwards, I think, maybe in part due to our new running backs coach that we stole from Ohio State, Tony Alford. Maybe his influence was part of that. I don't know. Do we think we'll see? I hope we at least see him for a couple of 1 or 2 series, just to see him in the short yardage situations. TJ,
I think some guys might be, I don't know, maybe less reps than others, right? I mean, we know what Donovan Edwards is. You don't want to risk him. This is live contact, unlike other schools. So I think you might see maybe a little less Donovan Edwards, maybe a little more Ben Hall, maybe a little more Khalil Mullings, maybe some.
I'm excited for that. I'm excited to see Ben Hall more and Cole Cabana. Absolutely.
Micah Capana's still is there. I think, Jordan Marshall's not there yet, so we won't see him. Man. I mean, dude, this spring game is going to be, there's so much depth still. Like, even though we have 18 guys going to the draft, in the year prior, we had 8 or 9 guys drafted. This team still is very deep. The battles are going to be great to watch. And I'm going to tell you, we're going to get a lot of indication on where we stand at a lot of positions, because, one thing we didn't touch on, John, is the portal's opening up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be some needs. And some of those needs are, offensive tackle. Are we looking at corner? Who's going to be the nickel back? Who's going to be the X wide receiver? We're probably going to be looking at 2 to 3 wide receivers in the portal. Rumor is we're looking for more depth at defensive tackle to play next to Rayshon Benny, like a nose tackle type. Can someone step up, or are we going to be finding that in the portal? And then linebacker and safety depth is another position we're going to be looking at in the portal. So I think we're going to get some answers and some indication this spring game, and it should be really interesting.
Just real quick, Samaj Morgan. I don't know if we mentioned him or not. I'll give 3 on offense, 3 on defense, who I think are the 3 best players. Samaj Morgan, Colston Loveland, Donovan Edwards. Maybe they don't, like you said, maybe Edwards doesn't get that much time. On defense, of course, Kenneth Grant, Mason Graham, and Will Johnson. So, if you're looking for numbers, you want to see the stars, what they're doing. They'll probably, my guess is they'll only play a little bit and then they'll be replaced. But actually, that'll be interesting in the draft kind of situation. You pick the best players. If you want to win the game, do you pick the best players? Or do you pick the players that are probably going to play the whole time and you're not going to get overruled in terms of, hey, you know what, Donovan gets 2 series, that's it, or whatever.
Yeah, that's tough. And traditionally the starters, like even JJ was kind of shaky, in this past spring game. And I didn't give it much credence because he did turn it on in the end, the last drive. I'm like, he's okay. They're just playing around. They're not like, JJ is the definitive starter. So he's just having fun out there, I feel like, and just, trying to work things out in terms of communication with the team, the play designs, things like that. They were working stuff out, clearly. Donovan Edwards might be the same boat, right? Where, he might not be zipping for 100 yards, right, or 70 yards. It might be, hey, for like a series, he runs for 5. And, he just gets in there so that he, keeps sharp. But then like you guys have been saying, Khalil Mullings. I can't wait to see a lot of Ben Hall, a lot of Cole Cabana, Mika Kapana. Oh my God, that's going to be great. We know that he is fast. So we'll see him probably third or fourth quarter more, but although maybe sooner because of how they do the teams. So
yeah, and I also want to just preface this for like anyone watching to just remember the defense is probably going to be ahead of the offense. So like, don't get too frustrated. This is normal. This is typical in spring games. And I do think Orgy is going to get a long run. I think we're going to see a lot of Orgy. So, it's going to be interesting, man. I mean, also like Jair Hill, man, DJ Waller, like, let's see who's stepping up at that CB2 position, because that's a big one.
Yes, losing Josh Wallace is a big loss, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So watch Saturday at noon. I'll be live tweeting as I did this past Saturday. And remember that it's unlike this past Saturday. It's not offense versus defense. It's both. It's basically like grade school, gym class where they, both coordinators get to pick, and pick teams. So they pick a full team, offense and defense, to go up against each other, maize versus blue. So just if you're expecting offense versus defense score, that's not how it's going to be. It's going to be Michigan style. Dave, Minnesota Dave, we'll start with you. We got 3 super chats. Thank you. Minnesota Dave has been contributing on this show. He's been contributing on the when we do the other show. He's asking about the Ocho last night. So Minnesota Dave. So if you go back to last week's episode of Michigan Live, you'll get a taste for why we haven't had the Ocho the last couple of weeks. John's life has been kind of crazy the last few weeks. So my dog passed. My mom was just in the hospital. She's out now. She's recuperating, but it's been kind of hell. So that's why. So the Ocho's on pause right now. We'll see about next Monday, but it's been on pause the last few weeks, and we'll see where we're at in a couple days with everything on the Ocho. But thank you, Minnesota Dave. Moose. Here we go with recruiting. So, by the way, the reason we didn't have time to cover the portal and much recruiting is because every freaking week we got to cover the breaking news of whoever messed up that week. I'm hoping next week everybody behaves and everybody is on their best behavior. Nobody gets any DWI, OWI, and we can talk recruiting. We could talk portal. You go back to last year. We were talking recruiting every week. We were talking portal every week. But this has just been cuckoo bananas this season. So, Moose, thank you for your $5. Word around the block is that Carter Smith killed it at the Elite 11 and is projected to rise in his rating. Carter Smith is looking good, guys. TJ, what have you been watching? What he's been up to at quarterback?
Yeah. So, I mean, the most exciting thing is his mechanics are improving, right? Mm-hmm. So Carter Smith is a very athletically gifted quarterback, Gatorade Player of the Year in Florida, which as a junior is extremely difficult to achieve. He achieved it. The issue with Carter Smith is his feet placement, and then also his throwing motion, right? But his feet placement is improving drastically. He quit playing baseball. He was a high-level baseball prospect, MLB draft prospect quality player. So to see him fully focus on football, he has a quarterback coach. His family's fully invested. It's very intriguing, very encouraging. He didn't get the Elite 11 invitation yet, but word is he will likely get it in the coming camps. But yeah, I mean, I'm extremely intrigued with his mechanic development, and I'm looking forward to seeing how he does his senior season.
That last play there was like 8-on-1.
Dude.
Yeah,
I mean, he's a dog, man. Like, he really is. He's a very interesting prospect.
Look at the cannon, and I understand it's high school, so the defensive coverage isn't going to be quite as good as you're going to see in college, and there's of course nuances to this, but those types of mechanics. Bryce Underwood, who? Because this guy's looking.
I don't know about that. Bryce Underwood would be nice, but no, I mean, look,
I get it.
But Carter Smith, his dad's a former MLB player, so he comes from a baseball background. You can actually see the baseball mechanics in his throwing. So as you could tell, his mechanics are not the best. His feet are not set, and his throwing motion is he actually short arms it a lot. But if you look at his film now at the Elite 11, his feet work is like drastically improved. He's looking like a totally see how he's throwing off his front foot. You don't want to do that. But like it's all arm, right? He's got all that power in his arm, so it's very encouraging. So if you look at his newer film, his footwork is so much more improved, and he's elongating his throwing motion. So it's intriguing. And he's going to be the quarterback that they're going to try and build the class around. It'll be interesting to see if they try to get another quarterback in this class. Right now, the word is no, but we'll see. Bryce Underwood would probably be somebody they would take, though.
Ferris, what do you think about his comp to JJ McCarthy? Moose is talking about that here. You just watched some of the film. The improvisational ability, when you think of JJ and what he did his very first drive with Michigan against Western Michigan. From then on, he has this ability when he has to. He does it when he has to, right? He tries to limit that. But if he needs to, like fourth quarter Alabama, one-handed quick save of that play to toss it to Roman Wilson. Yet every couple of times a year, you need that improvisational ability. What do you think about what Carter Smith could bring to bring that consistency?
Yeah, I mean, just a couple notes here, because I've gone through a whole week of after I made the declaration that JJ might go number 3 to the New England Patriots. I've been going back and forth on the internet with a lot of people in New England who think that JJ's overrated or whatever. But yes, what you're saying is the denominator. If you have a denominator that's kind of low, but everything else looks good, you're making the plays that you have to make. That makes a lot of sense. I think what's intriguing to me is that there's sort of this alternating year of trying to get somebody great. So you've got Jaden Davis. How long is he going to last? And then how can you set this up so that it's a train that can keep going, and then is it kind of a 2-year cycle? Maybe. So it'll be interesting to see also in obviously there's transfers to worry about as well. But if Michigan can keep a steady flow, that would be great in the most important position. So if his rankings improve and he stays with Michigan, do not expect JJ. JJ was better than Tom Brady. JJ was better than Jim Harbaugh himself. So yeah. I don't expect another JJ. There's not going to be another JJ 2.0. That's what I'll say. But I'm encouraged with the idea of having a steady flow of quarterbacks and sort of making sure you time it right, that, okay, where does the baton get handed off to? In theory, could it go from Alex Orji, Denegal, one of those two, probably Orji, and then it gets handed off to Jaden Davis, then it gets handed off to Carter? Maybe, that might be a good way to look at it.
I would add, if we're looking at JJ, the prospect, as a senior in high school, to Carter Smith, the prospect, as a senior in high school, the reality is JJ was a more polished quarterback. That's just kind of where it is. But Carter Smith has a ceiling that I would say is not too far from a JJ. Maybe more of a playmaker with his feet. And that doesn't mean JJ wasn't capable with his feet. I'm saying more willing. Carter Smith's willing to tuck the ball and run a little bit more than JJ. JJ ran if he had to, where, Carter Smith might be looking to run a little more frequently. But, I'd say JJ was the better prospect, but Carter Smith is a prospect that you can be excited about.
I think he could absolutely, with the right coaching, if Kurt Campbell's still quarterback, OC and quarterbacks coach when he's rising the ranks. I think JJ McCarthy, again, I know it's a big bar. I get it. But what I see in the film, what I see in his abilities, He's 6'3", which height does play a role in this. The balls can get batted down and things like that when you're shorter. These are the types of things that like this guy has. And if he's coached properly, I don't think it's unreasonable that could happen. But what we don't want is to expect it, right? What we want is to have him grow and develop, and we'll see how it goes. But what we've seen in the film excites me. So Moose, thank you for always posting for Mark all the stuff. Apologies, I've been trying to get to every comment and super chat and produce the show at the same time. So forgive me if I don't get to everything. But this one we haven't covered yet. Protect yourself online. We have a sponsor called Aura, and it really does help the network a ton. If you sign up for a free trial at aura.com/MarkRogers, you get a 14-day free trial. I tried it, and I was actually really shocked by, quite frankly, the amount of places that your data's in, the amount of information your data's in, and what is happening. And it really does do a good job of alerting you, and kind of having a holistic kind of protection. So check out Aura. Check it if you've been hacked or you have any type of issue with protecting your data. Aura.com/MarkRogers. You get a 14-day free trial, and it really helps the network. So the link is right there to do that. We have one more super chat as well, and then we'll do final thoughts. But Scottish. So I appreciate all you guys do. Michigan will have their work cut out this season. I think they'll do fine, though. Go Blue. I mean,
there you go.
There you go. So thank you, Scottish. Any thoughts on that? I mean, I feel like he's kind of summed up the sentiment there.
It kind of makes it more exciting too, because we talked about all the position battles. We talked about all the players to look at. We probably named more than maybe more than 22 names, right? So because we're talking about backups as well. So So I think it work out. So let's see how it works. It's exciting to kind of think of all of the possibilities. Hopefully we don't lose too many players to the portal and we gain a few. So that'll make it even more exciting as well.
Yep. Yeah, and also, I want to just say we appreciate you, man. Thanks for the donate or the super chat, and keep watching the show. We appreciate that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Scottish. And with that said, I know we're a little over. I try to keep this thing to an hour, but when you have breaking news, you have a spring game, you have all this stuff going on, and an Ohio State spring game, because you got to cover the opponent too. We had to do it, but it's time for final thoughts and where can people find you. So we'll start with Ferris here. Any final thoughts for us, and then where can people find you on the internet, including here at Michigan Football, the voice of college football? Yes.
So smash the numbers. The latest post that I did have to do with JJ McCarthy and his draft prospects in detail. So I compare him with all of the other 5 other top quarterbacks. So take a look at that. I am going to the spring game. So where you can find me literally is at the Eagle statue, the entrance that's the closest to Main and Stadium, the southwest corner of the stadium. So I'll be there at 11:30 for the spring game. I'll stick around even if people want to talk, whatever. I'll be there with Dennis Fithian, who's another broadcaster on YouTube, and we'll have a lot of fun. If you would like, you can reach me on this channel. That's probably the easiest way. I'm also on Bobblehead. I'm at Bobblehead Guru on Instagram, and right there.
There it is.
Yep.
So check him out. And the Smash the Numbers series, great stuff. And I think it's something we needed on the network, because I'm going to be the first to admit, analytics, not my number one expertise point. So bringing you in to help with that, and TJ, your recruiting angle, I mean, we're really hitting, like, y'all are coming to voice college football at the right time, because we got people who are experts and kind of at each of these areas, and it's great stuff. So Ferris, thank you for being on again, and go blue to you.
Go blue.
All right, and we're on to you, TJ. Another show in the books here.
Yep. Hey, man, it's always great to be here, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, so you can find me on Twitter, Ronin Sports Talk, just posting and talking shit, really. But yeah, man, spring game this Saturday. Let's have a good time with it. And John, we didn't really talk about it. Did you plan on doing a reaction show, or what was your thoughts on that?
I'll be live tweeting like I did last week. I think that's probably what we'll do there. But we'll be giving our reactions on next Tuesday's show, so that way we have an incentive for people to watch the next show.
Right, fair enough. All right, well then we'll be back Tuesday to talk about the spring game. So yeah, that's where I'll be, and let's hope for a good one.
Absolutely, TJ. I appreciate you, man. Go blue, okay?
Yep, go blue.
All right, so follow Ronin Sports Talk on Twix, and we also, of course, have the Smash the Numbers series with Ferris Khan. So that's all that's happening there. Mark's going live after the game. Okay, awesome. That sounds great, and then maybe I'll call in if he's going live after the game. That would be great. If I'm available and I can do it, I will call in to that as I usually do when there's breaking Michigan news or whatever the case may be. I try to call into those. All right. So with that said, we don't have a show after this, I don't believe. So enjoy the rest of your night, and keep tabs on Voice of College Football, as well as Michigan football at the Voice of College Football. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And I guess the next show will be 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow morning for Wake Up College Football with Mark Rogers, Voice of College Football. With that said, my name is John D'Adamo. I was your host. Check me out at John D'Adamo on Twix, as Moose likes to say. So I'll even post everybody else's link. I'll post my own link. How about that? There we go. So follow me because I live tweeted the Ohio State spring game, and I didn't just talk shit. Okay, there was a little bit of talking shit. Okay, there was a little, but I mostly played it straight. I tried to, really look at the good, the bad, the ugly. I complimented Aaron Noland a lot, obviously, because I like him. I think he's a great player. But I also, when I saw something good, I pointed it out. When I saw something that looked like it might be trouble during the season, pointed it out. We'll do the same thing for Michigan. Big J journalism here at the Voice of College Football. Big J journalism. We talk, and I want to mention this too about the show, folks. All right. I've had some comments, whether it's related to Davis Warren or something else, where people are like, you've been taking shots or whatever. Okay, let me be very clear. The direction of this show. This isn't a sunshine, rainbows, and puppies show all the time. Sometimes there's sunshine, rainbows, and puppies, and sometimes you need an honesty broker. And I'm going to be your honesty broker. Okay. And if we need to have some tough talk, then we got to do it. And if you notice in these shows, we've praised Michigan when they deserve it. We've also criticized when it needs to happen. Because more than anything else, we love the program. I went to the freaking school, right? Like, I spent 4 years of my life in Ann Arbor. I got a freaking Harbaugh and McCarthy photo, and then an Ann Arbor one right next to it. Like, and then diplomas up too, back there. So, love the school, but sometimes you need the sunshine, puppies, and rainbows. Sometimes you need the honesty brokers. We do both. Big J journalism, Voice of College Football. That's it. Thanks, everybody. And again, I'll post the link one more time. I'll be kind of just having this. I'm not going to keep bringing it up, but if you do want to donate to City Dogs Rescue, in honor of Gizmo, or any other dog or cat that you'd like to. That's the organization in DC where I got Gizmo. So they're a great organization, and they do great work. So check them out, give them a donation. They help rescue dogs from unfortunate situations, give them a new home, and make sure that home is good with a home visit, 3 references. They do a full reference check, a full questionnaire, the whole 9 yards to make sure that that's a good environment for the dog. So they really do take the time. So check it out. If you have a couple of bucks to give, I'll just be kind of perpetually having it in the description from here on out. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching again. We had a lot of people on the line watching this on Twix and on YouTube, and we really do appreciate it. Whether you super chat, whether you hit the like button, whatever you do to help. What Moose does, what Jackson Johnson does, what Dependent Fanatic does, what everybody does to help in whatever way you can, what Ferris and TJ are now bringing to the table here. Like, that's all because of you guys. That is all because the community has made it so. This isn't me. This is like, I just put stuff together, put the outline together, right? But like, the community is where it's at. So thank you so much. Interesting. Can we screenshot this and keep it forever? Because this is beautiful. Because I have been criticized as a moderator and called a fascist and every name you can think of. But this is true, okay? We only time people out if they give a direct personal attack, or if there's racism, or if there's sexism. We let like 99% of stuff go. Charisse has been calling us a cheater the whole show. Have we timed her out? Have we deleted a single comment? No, because free speech. Okay. But there are times when people go over the line and we have to give them a timeout, and we try to help, and it is what it is. We do try to keep the free speech rolling when we can, when people aren't being attacked directly. And we do have Dependent Fanatic. We have reasonable buck nuts here. Absolutely we do. The Rod and Hummus, Hummus called in, and we had like a half-hour conversation about Ohio State and about Michigan and about it was a reasoned conversation about Tony Alford. And then we had another Buckeye call in who was basically saying, what was Alford supposed to do? So we actually have Buckeyes. We may disagree over certain things, right? Like how physical the Ohio State game was. I think there were certain elements that were physical. There were certain elements where, okay, that T formation would not have gone for so many yards in a real game. Let's be honest, okay? But the reality of it is, like, we can have these discussions. We can respect each other. And so I invite, when we have call-in shows, please call in, Buckeyes. Please call in Notre Dame and rivals and everything else, and we will have an honest conversation and a debate, and we'll go back and forth, and it's a great time. All right. Thanks, Charisse. How about that? Even Charisse says, I respect that. Okay. We're doing something here. Thank you, Charisse. And thank you, Ferris, and thank you, everybody. Yes, even if you're a Buckeye, our content is... We usually talk about Ohio State at least a little bit, especially this week. I mean, we kind of had to, right? It was the spring game. So anyway, all right, that's it. I went almost a half hour over, so if you guys had other plans and pressing things, apologies. But we had a lot to talk about today, and a lot of comments still coming in. So thank you for that. All right. This is John D'Adamo. I'm wishing everybody Wolverines, Buckeyes, anybody. Go Blue. See you next week.